don't waste your time browsing too much the news and how much people are making with this project, or what's the new big thing, or what's this new company that just raised 10 million or whatever. Like just try the tech. Like actually try it. Like download the wallet, put some money in this wallet. Like see how hard or easy it is to transfer from your house account to this wallet, or how easy it is to actually pay with your credit card using MetaMask. Oh yeah, you get a fee, all right. And then try to pay Gami, try to pay Cometh, try to use a decentralized finance protocol. Try it, like really try it.
Blockchain, crypto, NFTs, DeFi, Metaverse, Web3 is literally eating the world, and community builders are the new leaders. Hi everyone, I'm Bilal El Alami, co-founder of Pyratz Lab, a startup studio fully dedicated to Web3 startups. In Pyratz Land, I'll give the mic to Web3 builders, founders, and investors so that we can deep dive with them into what is truly about Web3 entrepreneurship. No conventional bullshit, only creativity, rebellion, and community-driven insights. Hi everyone, so today is episode 2. For this episode 2, I have Jerome de Tychey, which is an entrepreneur I very much respect. Jerome both had the audacity to do bold moves every step of the way, and the lucidity to make the right choice, which led him where we are today with his last venture called Cometh, who just announced a 10 million fundraising. Hello, Jerome.
Hello. Very good to be here. Very nice to be interviewing for a podcast, this Pyratz podcast. Well, thank you for the kind words and the nice introduction.
You're a bit of a space pirate, no?
I grew up watching Captain Harlock. Yeah. In French, it's called Albator.
Yeah.
And it's a very, very nice movie that, TV show and movie, anime movie that led me to do many things in space, in what I like about culture and so on. And he is a space pirate, so yes. Exactly.
I very much love this anime as well. So Jerome, let's jump right into it. I like discussing with entrepreneurs. I want to know where Jerome grew up, who inspired him as a young kid, and what were you doing when you were 5 to 8?
So when I was 5, I was in the eastern region of France, close to the border of Luxembourg. I'm French and Luxembourgish, and I grew up in a small town called Thionville in Moselle, and I spent like 18 years there. And when I was 5, I was in kindergarten, and I was passionate about space. I wanted to one day become an astronaut. I learned that I needed to do a lot of study to do that, probably a PhD in physics and so on. I remember doing my very first promise. This teacher assistant at this kindergarten asked me what I was going to do, and I was like, I want to go to space. I want to go to the moon and so on. And she told me, if you go to the moon, bring me something. I promise you, I'm going to bring you a rock when I go back from the moon. Unfortunately, I never went to the moon. So far. I'm glad that space travel is becoming more and more of a reality, even for traditional tourists. But in July, I have a collaboration with a watch brand where we are going to put a piece of the moon inside the watch. So I will finally end up to that promise 30 years after.
No way.
I will get her a moon watch, and I will send it to her and be like, hey, you remember? I remember, but maybe you don't. But
I also want one.
Well, you'll be you can have those at ETC.
Okay.
We have a little pop-up store, and we do a couple of collaborations like this. It's very fun. You have the face of the moon and also a piece of the moon inside the DL. But yeah, so I grew up in Moselle. I spent 18 years there, traditional kid growing up out of Paris in small towns in France.
Just like Maximilian in our first podcast, he grew up in a 2,000 people village in the middle of Austria.
It was a 50,000 people town. But yeah.
And what were you doing? Were you going into the lands with your bike? Were you playing video games?
Playing a lot of video game. I was
I heard you were a collector of video games.
Yes, I used to do that, and my best friends from childhood has a nostalgia gaming shop now.
Okay.
And I'm close to having the complete collection of every game that has been published on Game Boy.
Okay.
That's my personal achievement. So I grew up with this very close friend, and I was lucky that my parents got divorced when I was very young, because they were they kind of feel sad about it and feel like it was going to impact me and so on. So they wanted to make it up to me by offering me video games.
Okay.
So very glad they got divorced and got me an NES, the first Nintendo, when I was five or six. 1992.
What was the game you played the most?
Oh, Ninja Turtle.
Okay.
Well, if you've watched any video game YouTube channel, like Angry Video Game Nerd, or in France, Joueur du Grenier, those kind of TV or YouTube channels, they've all tested these games. Games back in those days were utterly difficult. And finishing, I don't think I ever finished a Ninja Turtle on NES, but it was so hard. I still get goosebumps when I hear the from when your Ninja Turtle is like super low in energy. So I had a couple of close friends back in those days, and we were like gathering up to play video games, like play all together, or those adventure games, or do sometimes more PvP games, or like GoldenEye on Nintendo 64, or Final Fantasy on PlayStation.
I remember
those big hits. And when we get a cool non-hit game, we will share it with each other and have fun. I was not pretty much into sport, not going too much on doing soccer and so on, but playing a lot of video games. And at some point, I ended up playing computer games and fell completely in love with a game called Warcraft 3, RTS game, and then Frozen Throne, the add-on to Warcraft 3. And I had a bit of a career. I had a good level in esport at that time, or whatever esport was, like in the year 2002, 3, 4. You wouldn't get a big check for winning a tournament, but
still not actually.
ESWC back in the days was like maybe 5K or 10K if you were winning the ESWC. So it was really low, but you had a lot of hardware, like you got a motherboards or GPUs and so on. So it was fun to go to LAN parties and try to be the best and beat the others and get some cool hardware to enhance your computer. This community of esport gamer was very nascent at this time. There is a really well-known StarCraft player that played a lot of Warcraft 3 as well, whose name was Elki. Or Bertrand Gropelier. He was our idol when we were kids, because the guy went to South Korea to become a pro StarCraft player. He was dating Korean model, and we were like, wow, this is amazing. Wow, he's living the life. Like he was born and raised in a town that was not too far from mine, and we met him a couple of times. We're like, wow, it's amazing.
Excellent.
He ended up becoming a very well-known poker player, Elki. And I wanted to become a pro player like him. I missed a couple of opportunities. I was not good enough, and all the people from my generation, all the not so close friends or friends went to go to South Korea and then go back and started a YouTube TV channel and so on. And me, I went to university and I ended up in Paris. And been there ever since.
Oh, damn! You lost. Well, each person has its track. I think you have no regrets.
Yeah, at some point, maybe Cometh will sponsor one of those esport teams, and I will live the life.
That's what I say myself, because I know that I love motorsport, and I want to start my own motorsport.
We need to talk about that. We need to talk about that, because our CTO at Cometh is really fond of motorsport too, and we want to do an endurance.
Please!
Endurance race in October over in Lisbon
All
as a
right.
team building. So if you want to
Oh,
join,
perfect. I would definitely want to join. I already did one endurance competition, 6 hour.
6 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
The one we have in mind is the Fun Cup. It's 8 hours.
Okay.
But let's train.
All right. So I'll keep that in mind. So you mentioned Elki as one of the people who inspired you as a child.
As a gamer, yeah.
Is there anyone else?
Well, not so much. I mean, well, astronauts like
Okay.
the classic Buzz Aldrin, Neil Armstrong, or
Of course.
all the Russians that went.
But you
to
ended up
space as
studying
well.
economics.
I ended up doing physics.
Okay.
And then after I joined school, the school I went to had different departments, and I decided to go to the economic department because I was kind of bored of
physics.
Well, bored of physics. Can you ever be bored of physics? I mean, I was. It was super tough to the French system when you have to pass a contest to join the school.
Yeah.
It's a lot of theory to learn, and it's a lot of exercise to do, and you have to learn to do those problems. You have to solve all the problems from the years before, so you make sure that the days of the exam you are the best, and you pass the contest, and you end up in the good school. And I was just so bored of studying okay, here is a train and it's braking, and then in the train there is like a piece of soap, and the soap is like, what is the soap doing? You get 4 hours. So, man, I ended up doing so many of those exercises that I was like, okay, now I'm in the school, I'm just stopping physics. Like I don't want to do physics anymore. And,
overdose of physics.
Overdose of physics, and but I'm kind of going back to physics now as a hobby, or as trying to get to know what's the latest theory or what's the latest discovery we are doing in this field. And I focus on economics after this.
Interesting. I stopped physics when I started working on quantum physics. Man, it's next level mathematics, and I just couldn't keep up. But
it's a funny switch because you do so many analytical mathematics, so many algebra, and so on, and then by the way, there is quantum mechanics. So here's some statistics, guys. Have fun. It's kind of the same in economics actually, because initially the when you go to your bachelor and master, you do some statistics, of course, but at the end, when you are doing research in economics, then they put you in the situation where we have solutions to, let's modelize growth, for example, and then you realize that, well, this is a solution of modelizing growth for sure, but we have also the statistic approach, and then you need to learn econometrics.
True.
And
actually, the formulas are very close from hydrodynamics or
and it's not an hazard because it was meant to be, because a lot of physicians went to do economics and try to inspire themselves from what they learn on other fields to apply to economics at some point.
True, that's very much true. So let's get into your project, Cometh. So I see where it comes from. To be honest, I totally forgot that you studied physics before the economics, and I just thought you were very much passionate about sci-fi. And I've seen in the gameplay that there is a lot of, you play with the trajectories, the orbitals, and it's like you need to be a physician to calculate the perfect angle to.
It's a geek game, yeah.
So the first version was a geek game, but tell us more about. So the Cometh comes from your dream of being going into the space, your fascination for sci-fi. What else?
Fascination for blockchain as a medium. When I was 2012 or so on, I started to do a little bit of blockchain as a hobby, like learning to. The very idea of money without central bank was quite appealing. To close the loop on physics, when you start doing economics after having done a lot of physics, you're like, what is the unit of all of this? Like you have equation, or like what is money inside of it? Is it measured in dollar? What is this speed of money exchange. How do you measure that? I asked myself a lot of questions about definitions, about what is money, how can it be, how can we think about it, how can we conceptualize it, and with time you learn that that the concept that economics are about are very much social terms or social constructs. And so you try to apply a mathematic reasoning or a rationality on the links that you make between different trends that you observe in what you call the economy. And so you build a model, and then you ended up you're like, okay, we have money, and then at some point you forget about what is money or what all the philosophy and reflections and theory you had about money. And when I discovered that some people were trying to build money without central bank, I was like, wow, this is so amazing. Oh, and there is computers, and you can build a Bitcoin miner with with motherboard and GPUs. Oh, that's so cool. Let's do it. So I was doing that, and then it started to be more and more of a hobby, and then become a full-time job for me. I joined Ernst & Young and then Consensus, and then the whole cycle started to be super interesting. Like the 2016-17 was amazing years to be in crypto. And so in 2018, when I was at Consensus leading the B2B the B2B services that we had back in those days, we were struggling on getting young engineers or new developers to join the field because the market was super down. We went to for Ether, it was $1,400 to about $80, and people were like, well, this market is just dead. Like, why would I want to join this? So with my team, we tried to create small games, small stuff that could be interesting for people to discover blockchain. And we had a game called Rainbow Token, and so Rainbow Token was a game where you mint an NFT, and this NFT is just a color on the RGB scale. Okay. So it can be super red, super green, super blue, or whatever mix of those three. And other players were also minting NFTs, and so you have a leaderboard of the different colors, and we draw on objectives. Like, okay, the target is to go to this kind of blue, or this kind of red, or this kind of yellow, or whatever. Okay. And so the way it was played is that people were merging with other players, and when they were merging, the players that was paying to merge was getting the color of the other one and mixing it with its own color, and ended up with a different color. So it was simple addition of vectors, and then divided by 2, and then you ended up with a new color. It's really simple and also really easy to solve if you pose the problem, because you have a target color, which is a point in space, technically. And so if you are able to construct a pyramid with 4 different points around this target, you could merge repeatedly. It was a very easy algorithm, and you ended up having the right color at the end. Okay. So it was game theory applied, because there was a solution, and the game could be like either you collaborate, either you are adversarial. So you could raise your price in order that people won't merge with you, or lower your price in order that people will merge with you. And we were going from one engineering school to another, explaining like, hey, we have this cool game, you want to discover blockchain. And then we saw that people were having a lot of fun, and be like, okay, so this is blockchain. Like, you actually apply all of those things about cryptography and networking theory and so on doing games and applications. Okay, I get it. Oh, okay, maybe I'm interested to have an internship. Okay. And that gave me a lot of cool ideas about how we can apply blockchain to gaming as a medium, just as you would consider 3D as a medium of expression for your games. Like, now we have games that are heavily relying on 3D to say, I'm going to give you an immersive experience, because the fabric of your blue jeans in 3D is looking so amazing. So you feel like you are actually in a movie, or you are getting better in the skin of your character. Or people will like use connectivity and networking to create games where you are playing against someone else from another part of the world. So multiplayer games really revolutionized how we do games and we think about games now, creating new narratives. And when I was trying to figure out what blockchain could mean to gaming, I was mesmerized by all the possibility. Like it's a whole new medium where we can host games, and that's what we wanted to do with our first game with Cometh. We wanted to create a whole new games with a completely new things. Like, hey, this is a bunch of smart contracts.
Yeah.
The game is technically a bunch of smart contracts. You are interacting directly with the blockchain. Of course, there is a front end, but we were pondering like if the idea of having a giant sun and spaceships orbiting around this sun and people having to connect with each other in order to jump at different positions, if this wouldn't have worked, we were like, well, let's do the same thing with submarines. It's kind of the same thing. Like, it's just a front end. But the narrative was kind of working this way because we had designed so there was a sun and you have a spaceship, and so the spaceship is orbiting the sun. Other people that join the game have different orbits, and so the goal of the game is to do what we call gravity pooling. So you have your spaceship, I have my spaceship. I connect with you, I pay you a little fee, and I end up midway between you and me at a new orbit.
Yeah.
And
by merging the two vectors.
Yeah, exactly. And by doing so, I'm at this new point, and what I'm anticipating is that some asteroids are coming, and so I want to be close enough with them so I can mine them or extract what's inside those asteroids.
Cool. That's so we've talked about sci-fi. Most of the game that you mentioned are strategy game.
Yeah.
And you've also said our first game. So it opens the door to more games.
Lots of more games. So we had a very radical approach with this first game, being like we can host the whole game in the blockchain. So you get a very clunky game, very 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 slow.
Yeah.
Everything has to be turn-based because the game itself, the game state itself, updates itself with every block. Well, right. And then you have races like, hey, I want my transaction to be there before you. I want to be done before you because I will move before you and eventually get more than you if I get before, if I get in before. And we started to dig a little bit more about what would be the benefit of the blockchain in this case. Well, first, you don't have to rely on the server. So if you remember World of Warcraft and other MMORPG, it's super hard technically to have more than, let's say, 1,500 players playing at the same time on the same server.
And there was a lot of servers. True.
Yeah. It feels like a lot, but it's also not that much, right? 1,500, like, that's not even the small town Maximilian grew up in. Yeah. And in the blockchain, you can be thousands and thousands, it doesn't really matter. And actually, we kind of stress tested that. In July 2021, we hosted a tournament with 3,000 players playing at the same time. So it was a mess, and the RPC endpoint fell a couple of times, and the fees rise. But you know what? People were playing, so it was so cool, really cool. And so we started to see how we can use different aspects of blockchain as a way of creating new gameplay. And we ended up first integrating decentralized finance primitives and other blockchain primitive inside how classic features of a game works. So we have a new game coming up. Well, it's going to be in public beta when I think when this podcast releases, because we are going to open up the beta this week.
Okay.
It's closed beta, but you have to apply in an hour or so after we open it up right now. And so this new game is a classic trading card games. Like a lot of blockchain games have went this direction. But the twist is that the cards are actually crafted. Like we're not selling cards. You are getting resources out of your wins.
Okay.
So if I beat you, I get some resources, cool,
okay.
And I get a better ranking. If I want to sell those resources, I'm like, yeah, sure, sell those resources a couple of cents. But your ranking went up. So if every player has their ranking going up and you are always selling your resources, your deck is not going to be better, and at some point you will just lose.
And do you use some of the NFTs from the first game?
Yeah. Our approach is to only use the NFTs that we have minted from the previous games, but we do redesign and refactoring and enhance the graphic experience. So now with those resources, you can craft cards. And here's where I think the beauty of full blockchain integration got into place. is that if you want to create a recipe for a card is mixing those resources. This recipe is actually a deposit on a decentralized finance protocol, a DEX. So you are contributing to the liquidity of the different token that you are using to craft. And so if the price between two resources are changing a lot, the recipe evolves naturally, because it's always a matter of creating one liquidity pool tokens, which always represent a weighted average on the two tokens. So I put those resources, I get my cards, I can now, I'm happy with the cards I draw, or I can grind it to get some of the resource back and craft again. But when I grind the card, I get the resource back. So you get a way of gamifying decentralized finance this way, telling people like, hey, you can do this deposit in this DeFi protocol, get a card to play with, and if in a month from now you want to grind the card, you'll get the token back plus the yield, like you just deposit it and play with it. And in the same way, if someone says, well, I want to have the whole collection, so I'm buying a lot of resources. Well, if you're buying a lot of resources, you are pushing the price of all the tokens up. And the cards that have been minted before have still those tokens inside of them through the LP. So it's pushing the price of all the cards up.
Compound yield. All right. It's like that's what I really loved when I read the first Cometh white paper, is that you really found a way to gamify the decentralized finance. Basically, you can get some very rare accessories by staking, bringing liquidity, and then farming your LP token to get those accessories. And so people are just experimenting decentralized finance, but as a gamified quest to get something else.
That's a way of framing it exactly. Like you want to make the hardest items, or the rarest item, the hardest to get. But at the same time, it shouldn't be like only the rich can get those items. Like the quest should be there. So in the economic design that we have, we try to make it so that the game stays fair and rewarding for the players that are investing time in it. We don't really like the play to earn gimmick. Okay, play to earn, and so on. Because when you put the earn before the fun kind of disappear. Like the shadow of the earn is just too much. So we try to remove everything that's linked to an earning aspect, a strict earning aspect, in a way that if the players is just here to get a couple of cents and go back to doing something else, the game is not going to be fun for him, and is just going to lag behind the rest of the crew playing. Hence this mechanism of your Elo ranking is going up if you win, you get some resources, but if you don't craft and don't upgrade your deck for the next league, well, you're just going to have a couple of losses before you actually can get resources again. And so that's our upcoming games that's in beta phase right now, and we try to expand that. We wanted to have a good way of doing PvP battles, and so cards is a very good way of doing those PvP battles. We have a couple of tricks around those cards. I won't get too much into the details, but it's a mix of two other games called Slay the Spire, rogue game with a TCG, roguelike and TCG mixed up. I really like this game. Mixed with ideas from Magic the Gathering and Hearthstone to make a cool way of playing.
Cocktail Molotov.
And we have another game that is in pre-production, a Tower Defense, where we use procedural generation from the blockchain.
Okay.
So the next idea that we want to explore and create the proper tooling to represent that in the game is to use the entropy of the blockchain as a way to generate procedurally new levels for the game. So procedural generation has been around for quite some time in video games. So you have a seed, it generates a new dungeon, and you are scrolling this dungeon. One very known game about that is Binding of Isaac, very successful in the game, and other games are trying to use that. Like the new level is procedurally generated with this seed, and if you want to redo the same level, you just reuse the seed, or you pass the seed to Bilal and be like, hey, try it to be this one. What we want to see is how we can use this procedural generation directly from inside the blockchain. So everybody that will play the game at a certain point is playing the same game.
Okay.
But not necessarily together, but still together because we are all playing this same level together. So we'll try to do a good defense with those systems, and also use the fact that into our defense you are trying to put the right tower at the right spot at the right time, and sometimes you realize like, oh damn, I'm late. I should have put two more towers here, or one big towers there. And so in this case, you have the clock of the blockchain that help you out on that, and you'll be able to be in a super hurry and be like, okay, I'm paying a lot of fees in order to get my towers there.
Okay.
This kind of thing. So that's will be this is another game that we have in pre-production right now.
All right. Yeah, it's a very complex matter. We're also experiencing that in Dogami with the breeding, and we have to generate a new offsprings out of two. And so, yeah, technological complexities on top of building a game.
Yeah, and if you take a step back on the conceptual matters, the thing that excites us in those applications of blockchain for gaming is seeing how you can bring blockchain stuff into classic features. Like procedural generation is now classic features of many games. Crafting is also classic features of many games. So we try to see how much we can blockchainize that, and then create a set of tools that can be used by other game developers. And we have our first engagements on the B2B side, where Web2 studios wants to use blockchain in their games and are using our technology to create more blockchain enhanced gaming, not just oh yeah, we're going to do an NFT drop, and yeah, it's like a DLC but it's an NFT, or it's like a skin but it's an NFT. No, let's see what blockchain can really bring in terms of different experiences. And well, we have fun doing B2C games that have their own community and their own successes, and on the side we are doing more and more B2B engagement now.
So Cometh is not just a video game; it's a gaming studio.
Yeah, we like the image of what Epic Game did with Unreal Engine.
Yeah.
They started with Unreal Engine, and then they started with a couple of games that were cool games. So not that successful, but still had a critical success for some of them. And then they built the Unreal Engine and started to do Unreal Tournament to showcase for the tech, and then on Unreal Tournament 2, 3, 4, and every time it was a new milestone for the company that was starting to distribute this technology to other studios. So we are trying to follow this path. And that's the narrative we tell to VCs now. Like, hey guys, we have a couple of successful games and we have a cool tech, so help us ramp up on the technology, and we'll bring more revenue.
You've wish you the best of luck with that. You've mentioned play to earn, play and earn. What is your take on
play to own?
Play to own. Okay, interesting. Can you explain that?
The real revolution of blockchain is changing the paradigm we have with ownership.
Yeah.
Like the fact that I own this T-shirt is because I'm wearing it. I can prove that I've paid for it. Yeah. And if you want to take it from me, you'll have to use force or ask nicely. So like, yeah, it's my T-shirt, right? If you consider money, that's pretty much the same way until you put it in a bank, and the bank is the custodian of this money. And and if I want to move a lot of money, I would have to prove that it's actually my money. So like ownership is a weird thing. It's also a social construct protected by the law, and at some point like it doesn't get that much protection by the law, because like if you want to prove that you own this painting, you have to prove that it's in your family for a couple of generations. You have those kind of problems as well. So what blockchain brings is ownership through cryptography and through private keys. Ownership through private keys is really good for moving unit of accounts, and notably, like we can argue that Bitcoin is money or not money, and Ether is money or not money, or ultrasound money.
It's something that is valuable, and
and so
because people give it some value, and so it's easier to transfer it.
Yeah, and if you play a game and you have a value transfer between players, like you're earning. If you are speculating on the money, or if you are like look at it this way, like Aristotle was criticized chromatistics, which was for him how some of his fellow friends or contemporary citizens were just accumulating money. So the way of just getting money for money. Like for Aristotle, it was bad to be a merchant that will buy a rug, sell a rug to someone else, and make a profit out of those buying this rug and selling it to someone else. Because money for Aristotle was a measure. It's a way of measuring the value of something. So if you're able to buy something on the left and sell it on the right for more, you are abusing the measure. And so it's not right to abuse the measure, and you find that in different philosophy about money and also religion about money, like both in Islam and Catholic and also Christian wave. They're like, well, no, okay, you shouldn't do that because we reinterpreted Aristotle and we agree with that. And funny enough, it's considered a crime against nature in the Divine Comedy from Dante. So, if you were homosexual or having sex with animals, you ended up in the seventh circle of hell for your sins. But also, if you were a banker, because you were having a problem with measure and crime against nature, because you were against the very measure of
abusing
money. Abusing the measure, abusing the natural order of this is what is meant to be, not this. And when you kind of put it into a game, it's like, you're creating an economy in your game where some of the players are only going to be there to exploit the system and speculate on the items in order to earn. So you either create a real value out of this, like, okay, it's super hard to be a merchant, you have to have your own shop. And we are sliding the conversation into metaverses, like, hey, I'm having a shop in the metaverse, so like I'm selling you something, so you have to appreciate that my selection of good is great. Like, hey, here's a really nice painting, it's in my shop, I created it, so yes, you accept to pay me a premium instead of going to buy them directly with the artist, because you like my selection and you want to be able to say like, oh, I purchased it from Jerome's shop, so here I'm giving a service. But that, I think that's an okay way of having player earning in your game, like bringing value towards the players and so on. But when you are doing it in a very naive way of like, hey, this is I'm going to sprinkle a token on you when you win, and when you get this token, you just sell it to players that are willing to buy it. In this case, you create different classes of players. Some of them are just here to have the fun, and you have to bring a lot of content to keep that fun. And some of them are just not here about the content. They are just here to accumulate tokens and sell them to players that are playing for the content, and doing that because there is no better opportunity in their life or in real life opportunities for work. So you rapidly end up in a place where, in order to keep your economy growing, you need to have more and more players playing for the content, in order to have those players actually paying for the services of the players that are not paying for the content but just for the earn. So
it's hard to find this virtuous circle. And
I'm not saying it's impossible, but it's quite hard to find, and it's a finite world in terms of number of players, or at least slowly growing, kind of slowly growing number of players available. So it's really hard to sustain.
Tell us more about your community, because you're in this sweet spot of sci-fi and almost pop culture. In terms of gameplay.
I'm not super sure what's driving them to our games. Like, is it the sci-fi? Is it the cool design? Is it the fact that they found the NFT cool and they're like, oh well, I got this NFT, what can I do with it? So the first game had 10,000 unique players, and we had about 4.5 thousand NFTs sold. Our way of putting NFT on the market was to say, if we have 2 or 3 players, we should have a new ship on the market. We don't want it to like.
How did you control the supply of the ships?
Oh, we just minted them and put them on the market in the primary.
Okay. You didn't have any law of
it wasn't
warranting limited supply.
Yeah, and it wasn't also like oh, there's going to be 4,000 are common, 3,000 are uncommon, etc. rare, and so on. We just tried to figure out what was the appetite for the different ship, and if you were going to the Cometh NFT shop, which was like a simple version of a simple Shopify, let's say. Well, Shopify is just going to the NFT world now, but like 2 years ago it didn't existed, so we had to rebuild the shop and be like, okay, you can purchase this ship for X amount of Ether or X amount of Matic. So we created this simple Shopify, and we were like, if you want to buy a common spaceship, this is the price. If you want to buy an uncommon spaceship, this is the price. If you want to buy a rare, this is the price. And if you want to buy a Matic, we're going to run an auction from time to time. And the way we handle the supply is looking at our unique players and engagement of players, and be like, okay, well, we should put more spaceship into the shop, because some players are playing and they don't have a spaceship. So we had a rental system also. So players that wanted to play but didn't have a spaceship could rent from other players. And so I think our community was kind of curious about what we could build initially. So they followed us because they knew us from other projects, and from words to mouth, they were like, yeah, sure, let's try this Cometh game and see how it works. And now we have about 50K players between the waitlist and the whitelisted
impressive
players on the beta. And our objective for this game is to go up to 150.
By the end of the year, or
by the end of the year, yes.
Okay.
So if things go right, like the market doesn't crash too much and people don't get too much into depression, like we'll probably hit that. And I have a good feeling that either way, if the market continues crashing or the market recovers, or I don't even think we can really call it a crash or a recovery, seeing the level that we are right now. But either way, people will want to have fun. People want to see different things. So I doubt that we'll be really in a tough spot to reach those objectives. The hard part, and I think you may have experienced that as well with Dogami, is that the amount of players we can reach is not the same as the classic gamers. Like if you open up like I don't know, the BCG or Ernst & Young report on gaming, they're like, oh, there's 3 billion players. Because yes, you have you buy a smartphone, there is by default a game, and most of the people have tried this game, so oh hey, you're a gamer. Are we considering like the 500 million unit of PlayStation sold, or what is your market? In our analysis, the market is like between 30 million to 50 million players that are potential players, because they are using blockchain at least once a week, doing a transaction on an Ethereum chain or on whatever chain. So those are the people that we can reach, and for us, reaching 1 or 2% of those 30 million or those 50 million will be an achievement. Like we want to have those people trying our games, and we put budget and we build games in order to
so among people familiar with Web3 and blockchain and dApps.
Yeah, I'm not so sure we can compete with any game you get as a pre-roll or watching a YouTube video.
No, definitely. It's not the same kind of gameplay.
Yeah, and even if
you're more casual strategy.
TCG games have their own audience, but even in the TCG world, if you look at we are going to run a campaign on Facebook, Instagram, and so on, and on YouTube as well. If you look at the people that are watching Hearthstone videos, you'll be like, okay, it's very similar to Hearthstone, but it's in space, and we have similar mechanics, so it's easy to learn. Let's go. You're talking about 25 to 30 million players that are actually looking at that. How many of them can you convert? The demand for players' attention is really, really high. And when they install the game or when they try the game, they expect to have an experience that is similar to what they had before. They expect to have a great tutorial. They expect to have amazing graphics. They expect to have some lore or some appealing characters, like, oh, there is a dwarf, or he's really cool, or there is an elf, oh yeah, there is an anime girl, oh yeah, I'm feeling comfortable with playing this game because it has so many references that I have learned before. And even if a game like let's say Clash of Clans or any of those games where you see a tower and you have to jump in the tower and you just I've never tried those games, but I've watched those pre-rolls so much that I kind of feel like what it will look like playing it. All of those games have, even if they have simple graphics, they have huge budgets. Like we're talking about several millions of budget, and we only raised 10, so we're not going this direction yet. So we're focusing on tackling a market that we think we can reach.
I mean, I just realized something that I found very smart, because I've been lately very much challenging the play to earn model, in the sense where you have to build a collection, a limited edition collection, and then sell it, and then gives you access to the game. I don't like that, because it makes it very hard to scale to like 1 million or 50 million or 30 million users. At the Gami, we've chosen dogs because you have a lot of different breeds, and we said, okay, thanks to that, we're going to be able to create a lot of diversity, yet having uniqueness. But as a matter of fact, I'm trying to push for within the Gami and other project that contacts me, to have kind of this maybe free to own model, where you have no friction to get into the game. You can eventually like claim some ships or the avatar that allows you to play. And with having the company always respecting this ratio between like the community and the number of tokens in circulation, to keep the hype and the envy on the game.
Yeah, it's a hard balance to find. Our first game you couldn't play if you hadn't a spaceship or hadn't rented a spaceship. In this new game, you get a free spaceship if you play. It's a boring and ugly spaceship, but you get free to play.
Start with.
Yeah, and you get rate limited. Like if you play 4 games, those first 4 games you will get some resources to craft cards. But after those 4 games, you can continue playing for the elo ranking, and you have to wait a couple of hours for those games to be rewarding you with more resources to craft. So if you really like the game, you should either rent a spaceship from someone, or you should get yourself a spaceship to experience the full game. So we kind of see that as there is a demo levels that you can try, or there are premium experience if you actually own the NFT. And you mentioned like, well, we can sell a collection and then deliver something. It's very close to what you see in indie games funding. Like, hey, here's my Kickstarter. Like, give me some money, I'll produce this game. And then $100,000 later, you actually have a game or have an abandoned project. I think there is a very important case, and I know you're running a startup studio. So here's an idea for a startup. A platform to finance video games where you are actually selling NFTs as license. And the license is the following. Hey, get this NFT, it's a license to play my game. The game will be shipped in 1 year or 2 years or 3 years, let's see. You can only play the game if you have the license for the first 2 years of the game. And then after those 3 years, we're going to open up the market and start to sell license. And I will share some of the proceeds of those new licenses by rebuying the previous license. So as an NFT or as an NFT collector or as a video game fan, I'm just like, hey, sure, I love this game. I think you're a great team. Like, hey, give me 2 of them. Give me two NFTs. Then the game is out. I want to play it. I want to see. I want to showcase that I'm playing this game, which is very exclusive. And I want to rent my license. Like, you can play my game. You just rent the license. And you can build up interesting also games like this, saying like, well, the game is meant to have 10,000 players, not more, at the same time. And then if we do more, we're going to run another server. So I think this is a way to really fit the mindset of indie game producers that are super respectful with their community and want to give them as much as they can, and consider video game more as a form of art than a commercial industry. And at the same time, you really have something that is rewarding the players and the backers with something that they can monetize and they can keep as a memorabilia.
Just like you said, we've known those mechanisms before. Like Web3 is just trying to democratize them, and I think it's a good thing because it will connect more people with what they like. About connecting people with what they like. As a Web3 founder, what can you tell to all the people who are wondering how I can get up the learning curve of Web3, which is usually mostly biased today? Like, downloading a wallet is downloading an app on your iPhone, so we need to de-diabolize that. But what would you say to this new generation of founders to be?
Start by trying. You wouldn't believe the number of people that apply for a job at Cometh, probably also at the Gami, be like, hey, I really want to work with you, and I really love what you're doing. I want to be in crypto. Yeah, like cool. Do you have
we say Web3. You get the memo.
You get the memo. Cool. Do you have a wallet? No, I don't. But I plan on downloading one. Yeah, no, it's not right. Like, you should. Well, the first thing, a lot of people are willing to open an account on an exchange and put a couple of money in whatever currency they find the most fancy and expect return. Everybody likes to watch podcasts and listen to catchy YouTubers be like, oh, this is going up, this kind of things. But actually putting, let's say, 50 euro in your favorite currency on a wallet and then trying to use the different apps that are available in this blockchain is something that will probably cost you like 50 euro and an hour of your time and get you much more in terms of outcome of what you can actually do with a blockchain and what you can do today. So if you're interested in joining the space, make yourself a favor, like don't waste your time listen to this podcast, it's a good thing, but don't waste your time browsing too much the news and how much people are making with this project, or what's the new big thing, or what's this new company that just raised 10 million or whatever. Like just try the tech, like actually try the tech, like download the wallet, put some money in this wallet, like see how hard or easy it is to transfer from your Conhouse account to this wallet, or how easy it is to actually pay with your credit card using MetaMask. Oh yeah, you get a fee, all right. And then try to play the game, try to pay Cometh, try to use any decentralized finance protocol. Try it, like really try it. Yeah. You'll do transaction, you'll end up with transaction being stuck, you end up with a problem with storing your private key, storing your things, and so on. And that's the best way to start to learn what is it all about, because you'll get in touch with people. Eventually you'll be on the Discord, say like, hey, my transaction is stuck, what can I do? Can you help? I still think that the community is very welcoming and willing to help, like giving advices or telling you like, hey, what is this transaction? Oh, this is Etherscan. So Etherscan works like this. So this is the transaction going in and out. This is the amount. What is gas? Oh, this works this way. Oh, it doesn't work the same way on Solana. Well, oh, look, I'm going to explain it to you. There's a lot of things to understand, a lot of things to mix together. And if you're not practicing, you are completely losing track, and you've never been on the track in the first place. Mm-hmm. So try it, like really try it, and come to meetups. If you're living in a town with more than 100,000 people, there's likely chances that there are meetups around. Meet the community, get to know the makers, get to know the builders, get to know the entrepreneurs, and ask them what's up. Like, be genuine in your approach and passion for this emerging tech, and you'll have great career in this space.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. Is there No, I hate the question of the book that you recommend. So I'll ask you, what are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now?
What's the book on your table de chevet?
Let me. Well,
Or a
I've
book
read
that
I've,
lately.
I've read a book about astrology, about debunking astrology. Well, I got a couple of friends, and also my father-in-law is really deep into like, oh, astrology is super important.
Okay.
So I wanted to get
Astronomy or
Astrology.
astrology? Oh, it's not the same.
I wanted to get up to speed about that, and there are two physicists, astrophysicists, that wrote a book about the history of astrology and
Okay.
how it evolved. And I was like, oh wow, yeah. So like, lots of paradox and lots of things. So I read it as a like
Okay.
way of getting accustomed to more accustomed to the topic. And indeed, well, when the first started to figure out which was the zodiac signs, they ended up putting much more zodiac signs than the one we have right now. We just ditched some because it matches better the calendar.
Okay.
And also, like, indeed, like if you were born in February, the constellation that you see in the sky is supposed to be the fishes.
Yeah.
But it turns out that since space is expanding, it's not so much the fishes anymore. So,
Sure.
like, we should update it. So, and I learned that there are some different trends and
also on the
schools
solar calendar and the moon calendar.
Yeah.
There's this
So
deviation that happens.
it's full of jokes and trivia about astrology, and at the same time, I'm not as ultra rationalist. Like, hey, we should always be super rational and so on and so forth. Like, yeah, okay, astras can have influence, and stars can have influence in your life. Like, if you did some quantum physics, like when two particles get to know each other, they know each other for life.
Exactly.
So there's definitely things that are out of our reach and so on. But since
yet we try to understand them. we
really,
kind of understand them.
Really funny book. I'll give you the reference.
Please, I'll share it. I'll share it in the podcast. So yeah, we're approaching the end of the podcast, Jerome. It has been very inspiring. Thank you.
Likewise.
One of the final questions is like you're an entrepreneur, you're a family man, you're a father. How do you handle what's your daily routine to be effective in each of them?
Well, so I wake up early because my latest kid is 18 months old, so she's waking us up, me and my wife. So our routine is the following. My wife usually do the 7 to 8, and I do the 8 to 9, and we have a nanny and we have the kindergarten after. So I usually wake up around 8 and go to work around 9:30. Try to keep for myself some focus time, so I don't take any calls at certain point of the day. Also to have some buffers if something happens. I work really focused like all day. Take a break to play our video games during lunch, and then from I go home around 7. Take care of the kid and have dinner with my wife until like 9:30, 10. My wife likes to sleep earlier, so I get some another focus time and video game time from 10 to midnight, and then go to sleep.
Okay.
And I'm loving what I'm doing during the day. I'm loving the time that I get with my family. I get some time alone with my kid when my wife is out, and I get some time with my family and my wife alone when the kid's asleep. And then on the weekend, I usually take the Saturday completely off, and I work a little bit on the Sunday just to catch up and prepare the week.
When there is no Grand Prix in the afternoon.
Yeah, well, I watch the Grand Prix doing some emails and playing video games, which I consider doing some just get to know what's up in the field.
Yeah. Okay, thanks for sharing that. We're running out of time, but in the ritual phase, I will ask one last question. If you had a superpower, what would it be? I think you're the right person to ask that, because you will say something that I don't expect.
Well, does it has to be a superpower that is plausible or
No. Whatever.
Oh man, I have to pick one.
Or maybe you can pick two and justify why you choose them. Like, I want to understand like what's the mystical inspiration you have. It could be two things, you know.
Oh man, you put so much pressure expecting something great, and I was like, well, I don't know. Well, I don't know if I would really want to have a superpower, because it feels like if you have a superpower and the rest of the world don't have a superpower, you're like an outlier, and you've seen that in TV shows about superheroes. At some point, they get kidnapped, and then the government is looking at them and trying to really figure out what's up.
But you're looking the glass half empty right now. I know if you had a superpower, you would use it for the world. So
yeah, that's right. But
whatever other people want to do to you, it doesn't matter.
The superpower that I would like to have is to extend time, or extend my awareness of time.
Okay.
So instead of making every hour counts, I want to have an hour that I can make 2 hours out of them.
Okay. So you want to control time?
Not controlling time, but just being able to. Okay, so let's take this as like you're able as you. I would be able to experience time as if I was traveling through it slower.
Okay.
So for you, we spend an hour together, and it's been an hour for you. Maybe it's been 2 hours for me.
Okay.
Like maybe I managed to look inside myself and meditate and experience the time that we spent together as something that lasted longer from me than it did from you. So I spent more time thinking about it. I spent more time thinking about my answers. I spent more time enjoying the moment. And it can go both ways. I'd like to be able to sometimes spend time faster. I'm in a waiting room waiting for my appointment for the dentist. So it's been 10 minutes. I wish it was only 5, or I wish it was only 2. And maybe you could be it could be an idea for a game. Okay, so here's your super cool trick. If you want to accelerate time, you can accelerate it, and every time you accelerate it, you get some credits to decelerate time when you want to decelerate it. And I would never be convicted as a superhero with the superpower, because you would never know. Sometimes.
So you want to use the power just for you?
Well, I can use the power for everyone. Like if I'm like I have 2 hours in front of me. Oh, let's make it 4 hours and learn about something great and think about this topic and think about how I can help Bilal with company, or I can do whatever.
Okay.
I
kind of expected something related to time.
if your superpower is to say I want to be able to turn a greenhouse gas into oxygen, for example.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's my superpower. So at some point you'll be just the solution for this problem. You'll be praised as the solution for this problem. Once this problem is done, well, cool. But we're still going to pollute and consume non-renewable resources, and we are going to use you to obtain that, or whatever. Right? I feel like we should accept that we are altruistic through our own image of ourselves.
Okay.
So I like to spend time with people I like. I like to help people I like, and I like to also understand why I don't like some people. So maybe just being able to accelerate and decelerate time will give me more occasion to be good at this.
All right, thanks. I think we can close it on those wide words. Thank you, Jerome, for having me in your office. Great new offices. I wish you all the best for Cometh and everything in your personal life.
Yeah, likewise. Thanks for having me, and good luck to the third person you'll interview.
Thanks.